Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for our panelists. So we are going to do this panel discussion a little differently. You, the audience, you all are going to ask the questions. I have the questions in a bowl. I will come around. You can pick up a chit. You can ask the question, and then I'll direct that question to any one of our panelists. Yes? All right, let's go. Check. All right. We can have someone from here pick up a chit.
Hi, this is Rajesh from Atos. And question for you is, how can storytelling and data visualization help industry teams understand cloud ROI beyond spreadsheet?
I think Mr. Harsimran Singh can answer this question. Yes.
Sure. So if we talk about data visualization and metrics, definitely important for converting the technical language into the business language. Basically, what happens generally in the cloud, we know that from the technical perspective what the cost is, where we are spending. But if we talk about the leadership things, they generally, things and want everything in terms of business language. Okay. These metrics and these visualizations generally, if you are creating it that and translating into the business metric, it will help them in accelerating a journey. For example, if you want to take it like, think about you're converting every dollar cost to some transactions, some business values. Okay, it will be easy for them to understand, okay, where we are going. Otherwise, what generally gonna happen is like, you will always be fighting towards, okay, why we are not reducing the cost, why the infrastructure is so expensive, why we are running so many servers in the cloud. Okay, instead of that, what we need to prove them is that let's not talk about reducing the cost. How about making the business better? Okay, how you now can prove like with this infrastructure you can make the business better. Think about a situation where you are telling them, okay, this is my per dollar cost for per user. Okay, and think about a situation where you can say, right now in an hour we are just doing 10 transactions. Think about if I increase my infrastructure, the performance and latencies get better, and now in an hour I'm doing 20 transactions. Now these 20 transactions, these extra 10 transactions definitely convert to more business value than your expenses, and actually you are growing your business. Okay, now to show that particular part, to prove that particular part, you need those visualizations, those metrics. And if you have a real-time values floating for these business metrics, it will become very easy for the business person to understand those things, and he can understand where my business is going. And that will definitely contribute to the whole ecosystem and the whole organization in growing ahead. I think, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Singh. Can we have the bowl here?
Hi, this is Shraddha from EduLab Group. So the question is, are C-suite leaders aligned on cloud investment goals, and where do gaps usually appear?
Yes, can we have Mr. Parag? And
Yeah,
then also Mr. Satish can,
Sure. Am I audible? Right, yeah. So I think that's good question, and Harpreet has said the premise in terms of how different business leader looks at the FinOps or the cloud investment. So definitely there is an intent from all the leaders when I say C-suite, but everyone looks at it from the different lenses. Let's say, for example, the team or the panel is sitting here comes from the technology standpoint. They will look at it how my architecture is scalable, how the response time is better when it comes to the customer experience. But for CFO, obviously, he will look at how my financials are going, because for CFO, the cycle runs in quarterly or maybe annually. But the CIOs or CTOs generally do their investment for the multi-year. So they set the roadmap let's say for 2 year or 3 year down the line. But for CFOs, it's like, what is the outcome in terms of 1 quarter or 2 quarter, or maybe by the end of the financial year? And I think that's where the gap is. For example, business teams, they will look at how my customer experience is improving, whether there is a conversion rate which has improved over a period of time, or maybe there is a reduction in the process, or maybe the reduction in latency in terms of my customer experience. So that's how I think these 3 different leader looks at 3 different lenses. Perhaps what I feel is now time has come where we need to have a common dashboard for them, or perhaps a common cloud council, or maybe 3 different perspectives should be woven in one common cloud framework. Otherwise, this debate will go on that, whether the cloud is required or not, because cloud should not look at as a cost overrun, but it should look at as what are the business outcome that I see. So the conversion should change from what the cost it will take from that to perhaps what is the business outcome that it will give. Cloud is no more a IT function, that's what I feel. It's more of a business function nowadays, that every organization is moving to cloud, and just not because of the sake of moving to a cloud, but there is obviously a business outcome, there obviously a better control over your own framework or your architecture. And then perhaps that's how business teams or any of the C-suite leader should look at it. Otherwise, the debate will go on, and there won't be any end to it. Yeah.
Mr. Satish, you'd like to add on to this?
Sure. Now, I would start with saying yes, there is an alignment, but it is easier said than done. In my experience, I have seen or been part of discussions where the difference of opinion were so strong that we had to go through multiple such discussions before we come to an agreement that we have to move towards a common objective of probably cost optimization or making efficient use of the services which are already subscribed for. Now, as Parag just mentioned, when you talk about the CXOs in a room where CFO has his focus area of reducing the overall expenses and ensuring the end of the month or the end of the quarter, the overall expense is in line with his expectation. Versus if you look at CTO, he is largely focused on uptime, availability, and the stability of the entire platform. He got someone like CISO or probably risk officer who are largely focused on the compliance aspects and would want to ensure we are falling within the guidelines from the regulators. In our case, it is SEBI. And then if you look at product officers, they would always come up with some or the other kind of overall product enhancements, service enhancements, new features and functionality getting added to the product. So, which is bringing in a lot of costs. And no one of them would be ready to probably bend down in terms of getting their delivery compromise. And ideally, they should not if we have to thrive as an organization. Now, the point here is we have to shift that entire discussion from being a cost-centric towards something like, we are trying to achieve some value out of that entire exercise. So eventually, yes, we come to an alignment in terms of ensuring, yes, the overall optimization we agree on in terms of how we want to take care of that entire delivery. But yeah, it takes a lot of time. There are a lot of efforts invested in getting everyone on the same page before we say there is an agreement within the CXOs in the organization.
All right, thank you so much, sir. Let's move to this side.
question is, what leadership traits are most critical in driving FinOps? First, culture across IT and business teams.
Yes, can I have Mr. Navin answer this? Yes.
Thank you for asking that question. So primarily when it comes to, trades, right? One is business alignment, right? If you see in most of the product companies, earlier we had CTO, then CPO, you have CISO, right? So a lot of roles are currently merging and aligned more towards business-driven direction, right? You have currently a merged role of CPTO, so who is expected to not only know about technology aspect, but also product and business aspect. Even CISOs in organization are expected to be more business focused, who will be enabling business, not only ensuring that, okay, security is taken care of from a technology point of view, but also from an enablement point for the business to thrive, right? So from that point of view, what exactly required is primarily all the individual, the top level needs to be more business aligned or business driven in terms of seeing the cloud cost or the cost optimization for infrastructure, not only as a driver for optimizing your cost, but also to enable business value out of it. The second is primarily, okay, how you will actually derive, okay, what's the value, let's say, this optimization would bring in. Of course, you would be able to manage, monitor, what is the cost benefit you will get, but whether, other than the cost benefit, will it bring some kind of business value, right? You may need to have some kind of KPIs enabled, like, okay, whether my end-of FinOps strategy is enabling me to take my products to the market at a shorter period. Second could be whether it actually improves my innovation, whether it enables me to get more clients onboarded. So there should be some business-driven KPIs that needs to be set up, monitored, and adhered to. Primarily, this needs cross-collaboration between multiple departments, right? Generally, earlier, okay, CFO used to primarily, okay, define, okay, this is the budget for your overall cost. Then maybe the IT or infrastructure person would manage and ensure, okay, the overall cost would be within the budget. But today, what happens is you need to primarily bring in not only CFO, but the product team, the technology team, even the business team to ensure that, okay, everybody understands the benefit of, let's say, FinOps brought into your entire infrastructure management and what is the value it would be bringing in. And then talking in the language of business persons, right? Not only the technical terms being used, but, okay, if you actually bring in a cloud infrastructure and apply some kind of operational efficiencies and cost efficiencies by onboarding, let's say, automated tools to manage your cost. Okay, how exactly it could benefit the organization, and then for getting that benefit, what are the expectations from each and every department, right? So that buy-in needs to be taken from all the departments. The stakeholders needs to be involved. Proactive communication, clear communication around that benefit needs to happen in the business language. The other would be primarily data-driven decision-making, having collected information around, okay, your cloud utilization, and then, okay, getting visibility onto, okay, what are those utilization, how much is the benefit is bringing in, having dashboards being created, and using those data to take primary decision around, okay, how you can actually improve your business, how you can go to the new market, how you can actually upsell the product to your existing customers, right? So the key pointers are primarily data-driven decision-making, collaboration between different departments, making all the departments as a stakeholder into the entire decision-making, and then the other would be talking in the language of business and having a business alignment.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Navin. Yes, we can have someone from here.
The question is, should cloud investments be capitalized, operationalized, or modeled differently in regulated industries?
Mr. Satish, you'd like to take this?
So, if you look at the traditional approach, then ideally any long-term investment used to get capitalized, and the ongoing cost was always falling under the operational cost or OPEX. Now, in case of cloud, more or less because it's month on month the payment or annual payment you are making. So it has been always within the operational bucket. But considering the lot of focus of the stakeholders on the ongoing cost, now there have been continuous debate around whether it should be part of the OPEX, and because the overall spend which we ideally see on the cloud is somewhere in the range of probably 30 to 40% of the overall tech budget. So there is a lot of doubts around whether we should keep it in the operational bucket or not. But the way we are spending these funds, largely I see it is falling within both the buckets. That is we have adopted hybrid kind of model, wherein we for sure know certain cost would go in upkeep of the overall ecosystem running on the cloud. Whereas there would be some part of that particular spend would go under services which will be kind of volatile in the nature. You can say it could be related to the product enhancement, feature upliftment, innovation. So all those would be considered at the operational cost. But again, it really depends how exactly you want to budget, and organization to organization it would differ. Earlier we used to get a bucket with funds, but I believe gone are the days. Now we start with a zero-based budget, and in some cases I have seen it get resets every month, and in some cases it resets every quarter as well. Now, ideally, none of the CFO would want to get into any kind of agreement which is where they have to commit for a long term. So which means the people are slightly avoiding getting into multi-year kind of contract, because which means we get bounded with that contract for a very long time. And without having a clarity how the business is going to run for the next few years, and with lot of uncertainty at the global level in terms of the market conditions, there is a slight of discomfort in terms of engaging in the long-term investment or the commitment. So there are few obvious cases. So let's say a regulator demands certain kind of information needs to be retained or data needs to be retained for a specific number of years. In our case, it is 8 years. Then yes, we know we have to spend that much cost for a very long period of time. So that in some or the other way get considered in the capital expenses. But bear in mind, when we talk about the cost and when we have to retain such data, yes, intelligent tiering, all those comes into the picture. And now business also want to understand how exactly tech is spending the money. It is not the earlier days where business is okay in terms of signing it off and trusting completely on the tech team that they will spend the amount wisely. They want to play a role where they are getting the right visibility, and at the same time tech would want to understand why business is asking for specific services to be hosted, how they intend to use it, and how we can probably better host it and ensure at the same time we are not incurring a lot of cost on that. So I would say it is a hybrid at the moment, and with lot of stakeholders getting engaged in signing off any budget and in the current situation.
All right, thank you, Mr. Satish. Anybody else would want to add anything from our panelists? Or can I move on to the next question? Okay.
Question is, what mindset shifts are required to make cloud value a part of your business unit strategy?
It's directly directed to
Thank
Mr.
you,
Manoj.
Janice, asking this question to me. Okay. Yeah, because we both share the same industries. He's from McDonald's, I'm from Burger King. So, good. So I think the question is basically the cloud value, how actually you can generate the value. See, cloud is no more the computing power, okay? It's not like no more giving you a computing power like additional storage or memory or all those things. So I think what Parag just mentioned is no more like IT-centric. It is more like a business-centric. So which means like, what do we achieve and what do we get from this cloud? It's if you align the business along with us. See, our business, like, we works on offline and offline. We are across the India, okay? And cloud, basically, that is the benefit of having the clouds across the India, so that I can go to anywhere in the city, in the country. And today, if you see my app, and then possibly his app, like our self-ordering kiosk, is across the country, okay? So that is the beauty of the cloud. So that's the value that is creating it. But what he just mentioned, like, if you only talk about it's an IT product, then it's a problem. The moment you say, like, the cloud is something IT has to take care of it, no, it's a problem. Then you'll have to also understand the business. That is where you have to create a business value to it. The moment you'll understand, okay, doing a small tweak, like today, if I'm talking about from my industry perspective, if I have to do one small changes from the cloud perspective or anything which is on the application perspective, it's require a lot of approval because it is directly impacted to my revenue. So what is really important here, like we have to align the business along with us. So when you sit with any kind of a roadmap, whether it is a cloud roadmap or any kind of a transformation that I'm doing in the business, so very important, I should align my business. If you don't do it and if you actually dominate this entire cloud things only with related to IT, then what will happen, like, eventually they feel like, okay, let IT dealt it. And then you will not be able to explain the benefit of it. And end of the day, if you are aligned, and if the business is aligned to it, they understand, okay, what is the time? See, we have a cooling period. I think everybody has a cooling period when you do any kind of like Diwali festival or New Year festival. We don't do much of changes on our infrastructures. But that is where if you align with the business, they know, okay, these are the cooling period. We should not make any changes because it is not only about to getting a new feature, it is also about to creating a stability in the systems. While we know that cloud will give you agility, cloud will give you, the auto scaling features, and we can actually do, because there are a lot of times that we scale up to like from 1x to 5x. And cloud give you that kind of, the flexibility. You can go to the 1x to the 5x. That's how it works. And of course, the cost optimization, that is where you all can work. But what is important is to creating a business understanding about what is the constraint and what is the benefit and how do we achieve the ROI. So when you start sharing this information, and don't create a lot of technical document, because what happened like that is, I think what, Harsimran also mentioned, the technical document, people are creating a technical document and they're trying to explain to the management. They don't understand your technical jargons, okay? They don't understand really what you're talking about, all this infrastructure, cloud, scalability, auto scaling, all that things. They talk about, okay, what is the business benefit? So try to create a document which is more relevant to the business. More like, it has to be a business language. And that is where you can create a real value of the cloud. So I think that this answers your questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Manoj. Okay, I think I'll pick up one chit now.
If I can
Yes,
probably
yes,
add, I have, we are continuously going through a lot of cultural change within our organization, and which is largely focused on the cost aspect. Now, just to touch upon or probably extend on whatever you said, we have put up certain kind of controls in place to ensure that no new services, if it's going to cost over and above an X amount, would get deployed without stakeholder approval. So in such cases, let's say if a service is going to cost maybe $50 a day, then that needs a specific approval. And then ticket needs to be raised and the stakeholders needs to be made aware, because when you calculate 50 into 30 days, it becomes a bigger amount. And if there are multiple of such services, and then it is very easy to happen on cloud, right? Because it can just, the services can be triggered on the flip of a button or just a tick. So we have put all those controls in place. We want to make the right stakeholders aware about the cost implications of their decisions. Now even a lot of time we get requests from the product team in terms of upliftment of features and functionalities. What they don't realize is like, whatever they are requesting for has some or the other cost implication. So it is good to make them aware that, okay, we are okay to put this in the production environment, but this is what is going to cost, and you have to sign up for that. So approval is needed.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Satish. Okay, let me pick up. What emerging KPIs are organizations using to connect cloud performance directly to customer experience or revenue growth? Can I ask Mr. Mukesh to please help us with this?
Sure. So when you think about KPI for anything, right, always keep this thumb rule about better, cheaper, faster, and responsible, right? These 4 elements are there. With cloud performance specifically related to customer, if you think about it, what is better? Better in terms of quality, right? In terms of uptime, in terms of availability. Because when you are using any services, for example, if you're using Google Maps, for example, and if you just get circle, 1 time, 2 time, 3 time, 4 time, you stop relying on that and you start looking for alternatives, right? And they're not going to call you, hey, because you were serving me circles and I moved on to another service. They will not do that. Same thing again, this is Google, of course, you usually don't get downtime, but think about Ola and Uber and all, where you have a choice, right? And on a flip of a second, you change your loyalty, if you have a loyalty. So that part is directly related to cloud. And as our fellow panelists have already mentioned about it, right? It's not just about IT function, it's directly driving business for you. So for customer, yes, it is better. Yes, quality. Cheaper, right? You don't expect customer to pay heavily. Hey, I send you 20 SMS per day, so that's why you have to pay for it. No, customers say, no, why are you sending me 20 SMS? And by the way, there are several applications, right, who just keep sending SMS. Come on, guys, you are incurring cost. Even if it's 1 paise, right, you are incurring a cost. Why are you bothering us with this part? So cheaper part is important because at what cost? One other thing which I was surprised when talking to so many clients, right? Not many people are thinking about cost per transaction. This is my cloud cost. Whatever the amount is, let's say $10,000, fine. Where it is going? Per transaction it is? Or is it a one-time part? How much can you do it in simple term COGS? Cost of goods sold. Cost of one transaction, how much it is? If the transaction fails, the cost goes up. How much that is? If you are getting that detail, that is the emerging KPI, people should know, you know what? Cost of doing it once right is this cost. But when somebody make a mistake, the cost goes up. And how can you make a better UI to make it simpler? How can you make it faster so that it doesn't time out and okay, you have to fill all the form again. Not just you're causing customer satisfaction impact, but also it is an additional cost for you. Better, cheaper, and then faster. Yes, people are not going to wait for it, right? So faster and faster, it's important. But one thing which some of you may not have realized, the responsible part is coming more and more prevalent now. Think about ESG, think about responsible part. Do you really need that much of cloud? Do you really need that much of compute? A simple example I'll give you. Let's say if you have an Excel file with 10,000 rows, and you want to do an average. You're just going to put an average function and you're done. You make one minor change in one of the cell, the average is going to be recalculated. Why? Why does it have to be recalculated? Can you be a little bit more creative? Instead of average, you put sum and count. And when you have sum, you just do plus or minus. In 3 transactions, you are done and you are saving 10,000 transactions. ESG, right? So when you're thinking about cloud and architecture and all, these things has to come in. It's not technical. It's pure basic mathematics we're talking about here. But still, can you be responsible? What is the carbon footprint, right? Do you really need to take that much backup? Fine, you're taking that much backup. Let's say do a restore. I don't know if you have remember, Microsoft lost MSN Spaces 2006 because of one major outage. And that outage, they were trying to restore the backup. It took 1 month to restore the backup. People are not going to wait 1 month for you, right? So even if you have all the best things in the world, right, you will not have it ready if you're not able to build the trust from the customer. So the KPIs has to be related to transactions. The KPI has to be related to quality. And whatever things you're doing, right, just check that one more time. I think that's where you will get an understanding, are we responsible enough? Just because you have money, just because you can spend more money, does it mean that you really require that much of compute, you really require that much of storage? I think those mindset, when you get better KPIs. And I'm pretty sure the CFOs love those KPIs. When you bring those KPIs, they love it. And of course, it actually translates into your performance of what you're doing. That's what my suggestion would be.
Thank you, Mr. Mukesh. Can we have Ms. Afreen pick up a chit and ask a question?
Hello. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. So my question is that in what ways can organizations bridge the strategy execution gap between IT-led cloud goals and business-led outcomes?
Right. We can have Mr. Navin start and then Mr. Manoj can take over as well.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, right, primarily there needs to be alignment between IT, product, and finance, right? Translating any kind of initiatives, right, whether it is, let's say, a cloud investment or an hosting requirement primarily as part of a product development needs to be transitioned into a business value, and that needs buy-in from multiple stakeholders. The CFO needs to be involved primarily to understand, okay, what would be the overall cost or what would be the impact on the budget if at all you need to provision a new cloud infrastructure, right? So anything related to cloud is associated with some kind of cost. Now, before, let's say, the organization decide to bring in a new product or to enhance the existing product, and then they need to understand, okay, that will result in some kind of cost for infrastructure, hosting the infrastructure, if it is a product-driven kind of company. So that understanding is, okay, any kind of business initiative that's specific to the product is going to incur additional cost. That cost would be on multiple directions. One would be on your cloud or hosting infrastructure. Generally, as the gentleman earlier said, 30 to 40% of your IT cost is always your hosting cost, right? Now, the CFO must have already budgeted X amount as your IT cost. Now, all of a sudden, the product or business comes up with a new initiative. And if that initiative is going to incur a cost, and that cost is something which is not factored into the financials for that particular year, then it's a no-go for that particular product enhancement, right? So business, when they decide, okay, they need to actually come up with a new initiative, they need to clearly understand what are these cost factors, whether that's within the budget allocated for that particular organization for a particular year. So there needs to be alignment between the business, the finance team, and primarily with the technology team to identify whether something that is driven by the business can be implemented by the technology through cloud initiatives. If not, what are the ways forward, right? The second would be that there needs to be proper tracking mechanism, whereby, okay, once you decide, okay, this would be the cost and you need to implement it, okay, whether you are within the budget or not, right? I'm coming from an organization which primarily manages multi-cloud strategy, right? We have AWS, Azure, GCP, and we also offer hosting through private cloud. In a multi-cloud kind of ecosystem, it would be very difficult for a technology leader or even the CFO or business team to understand, right, how exactly we'll manage the cost. There would be certain workloads running on Azure, at the same time, certain workloads will be running on AWS, and some may be running on your private cloud, right? If you don't have a kind of unified platform which brings you visibility onto, okay, what is your allocation, what is your actual cost, and whether there is leverage to optimize or not, it would be very difficult for the team to manage it. So understanding that, okay, you need to have a unified FinOps platform or capability that will give you visibility into, okay, your utilization and the cost benefit is something very critical. And we generally what we do is, initially when we started with, we went out with, let's say, open source kind of platform, then realized that, okay, there would be enhanced platform that would give you all these capabilities, and we switched to FinOps kind of services, which can be integrated onto almost all the cloud infrastructure, even private cloud, to get that unified visibility. It will not only give you visibility onto, okay, your actual cost incurred and the cost benefit, but also this platform can actually translate that into the business benefit, right? So for example, if you are able to, let's say, reduce your overall cost by 30%, how business would see it is, okay, whether that 30% I saved can be invested back into my business. Maybe building a new product initiative, and the cost for that particular initiative can be covered through this 30%, right? So in effect, by managing your, FinOps, by reducing your cloud cost, you are actually opening up windows for new opportunity for the business, right? And then you would be able to take clear decisions on, okay, whether this optimized cost or saved cost, once I reinvest into my product enhancement or my platform enhancements, what is the value it can actually bring in, right? The values can be that, okay, this would actually help you to primarily take the product to the new market, one. The second would be that, okay, it would help you to primarily have a better customer experience to your customers, right? That in effect will result in primarily more transaction coming in if you are a transaction-based kind of product company, and eventually profit, right? Those are my takes on this point.
I think more or less you covered everything. But just to give you a few things, because it's not only about the finance, because finance, something, of course, they will go and challenge your cost. Okay, what is this cost? Why this cost is coming? This come actually before even you go into the budgeting meeting. I think what we need to generally do it, we should have a blue sky kind of a meeting where you actually involve everybody in the boardroom. Discuss with basically everyone, whether it is your marketing department, HR department, finance department, all the department. Understand what is their roadmap for the year, okay? Because see, the budgeting, class optimizations, that is something, is ongoing process that we all keep doing it, okay? Suddenly we realize, okay, this cost is going high, we'll go back to the management saying that, okay, this cost is going high, please allow me some more budget. But that's the ad hoc budget that he can probably give you. You can give us a proper explanation to that, but actually that's not the right way of managing it. What you should do it, you should actually get the entire understanding what is the plan. Even from the business goal perspective, what is, how much, for me basically, how many stores we're going to open this year? Okay, for any business, what this product, what are we saying? Today we have a monthly active user, we call MAU or DAU, we have 2 million of active users. I'm actually targeting 4 million or 5 million of active users. Then we'll understand, okay, to reach to 5 million active users, what is your infrastructure need? Okay, that is one part of it. The second is again similarly for marketing perspective. Marketing, how many campaigns that you're going to run in a week or in a month, so for a year. And then basically you can do the reverse engineering, you can plan across the year and then understand, okay, you have, these are the campaigns going on this particular year, and these are the campaigns that is going to be happen in this particular year, and then you can plan your budget across. So I'm saying, of course, then finance, then again, you can go back and fight the budgeting part of it, saying that, okay, now this is the plan for industry perspective. Now let's understand which one is critical to it. Of course, you cannot just simply take all the requirement and start deploying it to the production environment. You also have to understand what is really relevant. We all know that what is good to have and must to have. So that is how we start doing the budgeting. And then of course the synergy that we keep talking about. Generally what happens, most of the time, we don't involve business people. And then the synergy between the marketing and the IT, then other departments, always are frictions. They always keep saying, no, it's uska problem hai, this is not my problem, this is that problem. So that is the moment you start thinking about, no, it's our things, and this is how we have to build the platform. And this is what I want to see the platform. If I want to see 20 million, 40 million user on my app, how do I want to elevate my app to the next level? How do I actually go to the next market? What Navin was talking about, it should be very easy to take it to any market. The scalability cloud will provide you, but the budget cloud will not provide you. Budget your CFO will provide you. But that information, that visibility you have to give, that's very important, visibility part of you, because we keep presenting this information to the management saying that, okay, today we are sitting on this budget. We also do, of course, but there is, from specifically cloud perspective, we are spending almost 30-40% of your to overall IT budget. It's a huge amount. Then when you start showing this real-time visibility to everyone across the in the management level, they'll understand, okay, where are we right now sitting, and do we have to further escalate to it, or should we just hold it, or should we just create any more products? So this will give you more synergy between the department, and that is where I feel so getting everyone into the same page is always important. Informing or allowing or giving them a kind of a dashboard to every department to understand, saying, okay, this is your cost. It is not my cost, because IT, we don't do anything for us. Everything has been done for a business. So whatever you do it for business. Okay, so it is a business-led cost. It's not an IT-led cost. So that's very important. I think more or less Navin has covered most of the points, but I think this is what I feel.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Manoj and Mr. Navin. We can ask these gentlemen here behind, yes.
Hello, good afternoon. This is Jitendra Raval here, Head of IT from Acme Group. Appreciated wonderful inputs from all so far. The question is, what is the leadership mindset shift required to treat FinOps as a growth enabler, not as a cost reducer?
Mr. Singh, you would like to take? Yes.
Sure, I'll take that. To be honest, it's a very good question, and I would like to start it from one of my experience in the past. Okay, so there was a meeting which is going on with CFO, CTO, and our CIO, and suddenly I got a call to join that meeting. And when I was entering the room, I was like, okay, I did screwed up something. That was my first thought, to be very honest. But I don't know what I did. Okay, then slowly that meeting started coming off, and it was like, why we are having so many servers into the cloud? Okay, why we cannot reduce that cost? So our CFO basically was trying to understand what we are doing with the infrastructure, why the cloud cost is growing up, and he was thinking like why we cannot reduce it. Even the discussion went up to that level that he proposed us, why not to have our own data center? I need to spend one time, and then I can have the things, for years and years. I will able to recover that hardware cost within 1 year. And for the 4 years, the whole thing will be free. But the overall thing, his idea was good, but he actually forgot to calculate a lot of things. The resource cost, the management cost, okay, the electricity, the space, okay, the outages cost, okay. See, it is easy to say that we can have a old kind of infrastructure and all those things, but there is a lot of engineering and other efforts are required to run the show along with them. So there where the cloud comes to help us. Okay, when we talk about AWS, GCP or anyone, we will always get a very high availability of the infrastructure. We can switch to the things very frequently. We have the number of API calls and all those things. But problem is that I cannot tell these words to my CFO because he don't understand API. He not at all understand API. He have no idea what API is. Sorry? Yeah, CFOs at that time, some of them not able to understand. Basically, when I'm saying he's not able to understand the technology part of it. Okay. Now the idea was how to shift it to the business one. So like we previously, I think Satish, Parag, everyone was talking about like IT is right now, taking care of the cloud, but cloud should not be treated as just the IT component. It should be treated as a business component. Okay. So this is where the things comes in. The first time I have learned, like, to tackle these kind of problem, it should not be a single person responsibility or a single team's responsibility. Because that day I was working as a DevOps, I was heading the DevOps and all, and I was the person who was in charge on that. But later on we realized it should be part of every business function. Okay, it should be part of product as well, because product tells us what to create. Okay, we know how to make it and we know how to deploy it, but the ideas is coming from product. So product is also a part. Now product are getting a lot of inputs from marketing, lot of input from branding. Okay, we should do that, people wants that and all those things. And thinking about that whole scenario, it is all what is driving the whole business. So it should become a joint responsibility of everyone. And basically it should become a part of a culture. Okay, so you need to build a culture where everyone have that ownership for the cloud. Okay, once you have that ownership, now you don't need to talk about how to reduce the price of the cloud. You need to talk about how to optimize the pricing. Like for example, how we can say that if I'm spending $1 on the cloud, it is earning me this much amount of money in the business. Okay, once I'm able to translate that, I can have different kinds of metrics to present, okay, which can help my business executives to make decision how to take it ahead. Okay, now once you have that things in place, this is a continuous process. So every time any person is joining in your team, you need to make him the part of that culture and you need to tell him the value of it. That is how you can go on. That is how you can get the maximum value from the cloud. Nowadays, people are also coming up with, I have seen a concept, like people are coming up with a special team called as cloud economics. The role of that team is basically that you will tell us what value we are actually getting out of the cloud. And I think it is a very good initiative. And most of the time, these teams are actually part of your DevOps or your SREs, or sometimes the different as well. This totally depends how you want to structure it. So that's all. I hope that answers your question.
To add this one, so I think, which reminds me one of the case study, I think if you can read it, that Nova Retail, it's like a US-based company, if you can just figure out, because they have actually done this kind of a transformation. They've been using their own internal infrastructures for a long time, and they realize it, like they have a lot of downtimes, abruptly downtime, and a lot of the fluctuation. Then they realize it, like, how do we create this cloud transformation? And they've created a the cloud champion in different departments, not from the IT department. So you have your IT people, of course, but what they have also done it, like they have picked up people from every department, and they've told them, like, you will be a cloud champion. You come up with your requirement, and what do you want to do that? This is what I want you to take care of the complete ownership. And this actually, case study actually gives a very good insight about how the cloud transformation actually changed their entire business front. Because the US, they run a lot of Black Friday kind of an event. Their platform couldn't able to handle those kind of loads, and that is where they've actually done this kind of changes, where they moved most of the critical, which is critical infrastructures. They moved to the cloud, and then they have in fact involved different people from different departments and let them lead this entire the migration process, and they've done amazing things. So it's a good case study if you can just read it. It's a good one.
If I may add one more point to it, right? One of the challenge with cloud adoption and the FinOps is primarily lack of awareness with business team, a lot of business team, right? I have seen that primarily from a few of the business leaders, hosting is still a server and database, right? They think that, okay, you need a server and a database, then the platform can be hosted. While at the back end, if you are in latest technology-driven product company, you would be using microservice, then containers, all those technologies would come, load balancer, API gateway, right? There are too many components, right? So when you present, let's say, cloud cost estimate to the business team, they may, first question is, okay, why this much cost, right? Because they will be always thinking it from, let's say, that two-component kind of mindset. So educating the business leaders primarily on, okay, what exactly is cloud, not only from a technical point of view, but at least from a concept point of view, right? Okay, hosting is primarily this. Okay, in cloud, you will have multiple services. Every service comes with a cost. If you are using latest technology, okay, these are the different services would come, everything associated with this cost, and ultimately your cost would be this much, right? That awareness is very much important. I see that, okay, a lot of organizations are actually having training program, which actually, includes cloud-based kind of, FinOps into their training program, so that all the department stakeholders would be on same page. The second is a lot of marketing, right? So usually what happens is product companies, marketing team or sales team would directly pitch to the business teams in your organization. The straightforward pitch is, okay, you migrate your infrastructure to mine, I will give you 60% cost reduced hosting model, right? I came across this situation. And then, okay, if the business leader is a decision maker, he may sometimes commit, okay, then we could see. And then they will come back to the technology team and say, okay, this is the partner, we need to go out with them, and they will give us 60% cost reduction. And the decision is made sometimes, right? Not always. That's when you need to go back, then do your assessment, and then prove it, right? You will do, okay, this is my requirement. Then you provide a requirement with the third party and ask them to provide a cost estimate. And then you will come up and realize that, okay, maybe they will offer X% reduction, or sometimes the cost may be on a higher side. I did such a kind of assessment when a similar pitch happened, whereby they claimed that they will be offering close to 75% of my hosting cost. Ultimately, when we did the assessment, we end up understanding that, okay, their cost would have been almost 3.5 times what we were hosting. Of course, the reason is we were using an Oracle database. It comes with the licensing, but not everybody factors it, right? But for the business team, since they don't understand the technicalities and the concept, for them it's very easy to actually buy in what the marketing, the sales team was actually pitching to them. So having that awareness across the board is very much important.
Thank you so much. All right, we have 2 more questions. Can we have someone pick up from here? Yes.
Hi. So, what role does predictive FinOps play in forecasting innovations, ROI, or business impact?
Mr. Parag, would you like to take us through this?
That's a good question, and I think why important, because it will now help understand or maybe bring marriage between the technology and the business function. Traditionally, for me, FinOps is always there. It helps you, give you a kind of optimization or maybe monitoring in terms of your cost. But predictive FinOps takes this to a different level. And now why? Because it will bring foresight to that equation. And what is that equation? Equation is how much you are investing and what you are getting. Till that time, you can still think of, this is what my cloud cost will be. But converting into a language which will help understand every business function within the organization is something that was not there. I think, let me go back or maybe step back in the sense where every organization has a data. There is no case that no organization has no data, but they were not able to connect it to a business outcome. Okay, this data that we have, how can we correlate and put it in a more functional way to all my business heads? That is something still missing to a certain extent. And I think predictive FinOps bring that into a table. For example, let's say you're launching one of the Jain AI model for your customer support that you already have. Now, if I want to do that, predictive FinOps will help me to define, okay, if this really works for me or not. Okay, I'm investing this much. Now my number of calls that used to get has been reduced to a certain extent. My NPS score has improved. My conversion of customers has improved. All those, at least you can predict using predictive FinOps. And secondly, even everyone, if fellow panelists were talking about, let's say I invest $1 million or maybe $1,000 in cloud business. Now, what is that going to help me? Whether 30% improvement in my customer conversion or 20% reduction in my latency or whatever. Those kind of predictive FinOps, kind of a tool or anything that we all can use, can help you define, okay, this is the future direction that I need to go. Otherwise, it's a little blur for everyone. Obviously, for technology, for the sake of technology, they come up with the cloud and all, we should. But then again, it's a calculated call that I still believe that you did not to go and, put all your workload to a cloud if it's not required. Perhaps if you have strong capability in-house, use that. And wherever there is a cloud capability required, go for it because of the resiliency and then the scalability that it offers. I think predictive FinOps is really important, and that is, I think, a central system, or maybe, or what you can say, help you take the intelligent decision when it comes to going for a cloud cost or cloud, implementation for your organization. Just wanted to add last point here. I don't know how you define the digital transformation. For me, it is always a cultural change. And I think what everyone tries to discuss, whether it's a use case in terms of CFOs questioning about cloud cost or implementing right tools or technology. For me, digital transformation is a cultural change. Nothing to do with tools, technology, cloud implementation. This follows automatically as long as there is a common language for all the leaders within the organization is there. It's not a barrier, it's not a blocker. The challenge comes, even if I recollect when I used to do API banking in 2015-16, exposing API over the internet to Google Pay or WhatsApp Pay or whatsoever, is a mere implementation using one of the API gateways, create an API, write request packet, response packet, and expose it to the right third party. But the challenge was internal where, CISO will come, that will say, this data is going over the internet, it's a customer information, it's risky. Then the internal team who holds that data, the core services, they will say, why do you need that? You tell me what you want to build, I'll build. For me, convincing them is a bit of a challenge rather than implementing this technology. Cloud provider, the hyperscaler are there, they will say, okay, go ahead, this is your cloud. API gateway tool and technology, a lot of providers are out there, they will provide. But then to use and implement it is a challenge. That's where I see a cultural change or mindset change is required. And that's where I see a transformation is key to all this. So predictive enough, obviously, just to answer that, it's important. Only thing is there is a conviction internally. Obviously, intent is there, but as I said in the start, the interpretation for all the leaders are different, and that's where I think we need to bring that common dashboard or common language for all of us. That's what.
I can probably add two elements here. When you talk about predictive, right? So we know the consumption of the cloud, specifically when you are a B2C kind of a setting, it varies throughout the day, right? Do you really require all the workload to be done at those time? Can you fine-tune those workload? But ability to predict that 9 a.m. this is the load we are expecting, 4 a.m., 4 p.m. this is the load we are expecting. Based on that, doing it rather than completely relying on a cloud elasticity, that probably will help you even reduce the cost further. At the same time, be able to optimize some of the resources. So that's a major part of it. But second part of it also is, right, as soon as we come to know that, we are at a growth path and the company is going to grow. So when architecting it, right, not just architecting at the future 2 years later and then provisioning now, but at the same time, right, doing a regular checkup and then provisioning, those will help us do more and more better predictive FinOps. That's my suggestion.
Thank you so much. Mr. Navin,
Sorry, if I may add, right, one use case I could think about specific to predictive FinOps is primarily if you are an organization hosting your platforms on multi-cloud, you may sometimes take decision, okay, this particular product may be launched on, let's say, AWS, for example, right? At some point of time, you may need to understand whether that was the right decision, right? Whether hosting it on another CSP would have benefited you from a cost point of view. That's where this predictive FinOps would be helpful, whereby, okay, if you have multi-cloud kind of platform, on top of that you have a FinOps tool, onboarded, and you set up your infrastructure on one particular CSP, then these kind of platforms could actually give you visibility on, okay, if you had hosted it on, let's say, another kind of CSP, okay, it may have a better cost-effective kind of services and your overall cost would have come down, right? Not only giving you that cost-benefit analysis on one particular CSP, but it could also offer you that cost-benefit analysis across multiple CSPs, right? So that's one use case I find handy with this predictive analysis capabilities with these services.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. We have one last question.
Okay, good evening everyone. I am Pooja from Vulture Cloud. So I'm having question how we are the leading enterprises rethinking value realization from the cloud beyond simple cost efficiency. And
Mr. Mukesh?
Yeah, Mr. Mukesh, it would be great if you can just help us answering this. Thank you.
Sure. So I think our leaders on the panel right now, we already talked about some of the things, not just look at the cost optimization part of it, but also look at the value. But invariably, anything we do, right, be it in olden days, Six Sigma or ISO 9000 or anything we did, or technology transformation, including AI, 90% of the time we are only talking about cost reduction, optimization, right? This will help us save, this will help us. Very few times we think about, okay, this is going to enable a new line of business. We can do this more going forward. So that mindset change needs to happen first. Second, we all are aware of ROI, and some of the industry have a thumb rule of 5x. If I'm investing, let's say, 10 CR in this project, right, I need to get 50 CR returns, 5x kind of thing. All of good when you're pitching for the project, when we are doing a business case. But how many of you actually go and look back and say, did we really realize those parts? And what about the hidden cost and hidden benefits we probably would have achieved and all? So those parts are there, right? So if you're, as soon as you talk about value realization, one thing I would strongly recommend people to talk about, start putting down on paper and start tagging how are they going to be tracked and how are you going to realize. So for example, somebody is telling you that this will help us do 20% cost reduction. Okay, are you going to repurpose 2 of the headcount of yours, right, out of 10, right? Those questions you need to ask. Next point is value realization. When we talk about it, how confident are you that you will be able to measure it correctly? For example, if your company is in a growth path or when your volume is high, right? You probably have slightly better cost optimization on cloud when your volume is higher compared to when the volume is lower, right? How are you factoring all those parts? Are you defining those KPI over there and all? I think these are some of the questions which you normally need to ask. As one of the panelists mentioned about cloud economics. That's an upcoming field, upcoming role. Very few people can get this very well. It's a good combination of tech plus finance, but at the same time the business focus, where we can talk about it, this is really making sense or not making sense. Including some of the answers which were given here, right? Not everything can had to go to cloud. Some of them can be done on premises, some of them can be done non-real time. All of those things, optimization will actually help you get to better and better value realization. So that's my suggestion.
All right, I think we are very good with time. Thank you so much to all our panelists, and thank you to all our audience for participating wholeheartedly in asking the questions. Please, let's put our hands together for all our panelists.